Trump administration announcing a revised list of free entry days to America's national parks. President Trump's birthday has been added to the list. Martin Luther King Day has been taken off.
Today, we are where thousands of people will soon gather to celebrate Juneteenth. It's a national holiday, right? At least I think it is. I remember that being said back in 2021, even though modern day political parties, I think we all know who we're talking about, have tried to diminish this. They want to diminish the fact that on this day in history, thousands of enslaved Texans found out they were legally free. On the flyer, it says June 19th, 1865. But if you actually look closely at the paperwork, the math doesn't make any sense.
The Emancipation Proclamation went into effect on January 1st, 1863. General Gordon Granger didn't read the General Order Number 3 in Galveston until June 19th. 1865. That's exactly 899 days gap. For over 2.5 years, thousands of people were legally free on paper. But in reality, they were still brutally enslaved.
Now, the standard story that you get in schools is that the news was just slow. Maybe the messenger got stuck in the mud. Maybe, just maybe, it took the mail such a long time to travel all the way down south. We wanted to take a look at those logistics because if you map the technology in the 1860s, you'll realize that slow mail story is a complete lie. This wasn't by accident. It was by design. This was an intentional, highly coordinated, logistical cover-up.
Let's kill that myth right now, that Texas was isolated from the world. By 1860, they had over 300 miles of railroad tracks, functional railroad tracks. The telegraph lines that ran straight into Houston and Galveston. The news of the war ending traveled instantly. In fact, Texas slaveholders, they knew the Confederacy had fallen weeks before the Union armies even arrived.
So why did the information stop? Because of a massive intentional migration. When the Civil War broke out and Union troops started reclaiming parts of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Virginia, the slaveholders, they didn't stop operating. They packed up everything and fled deeper into Texas. Why? Because at the time, Texas had no massive Union military to enforce the law. When General Granger finally landed in Galveston and read the order, everyone quotes the opening line. Quote, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free." End quote. That sounds clean, but look at the literal fine print at the bottom of the exact same page.
The text literally says, the freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, and they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere.
Think about what that actually meant on the ground. The moment these people find out they are free after generations of bondage, the immediate federal instruction isn't to build a new life, and it's not to go find their stolen families. It's an explicit order to stay put, keep working for their former masters, and a direct warning not to look for government assistance. It was a legal pivot designed to transition people instantly from the chattel of slavery directly into systemic economic entrapment.
Historians document that between 150,000 and 250,000 enslaved people were forced into Texas during the war. It became a deliberate stronghold for forced labor. The people running the plantations knew the law had changed in 1863, but they actively hid the information from the people working the fields just to squeeze out 2 more cycles of cotton harvests. But the people didn't stay put. Despite the warnings in the order, what followed next was a massive historical movement, simply known as the scatter. Thousands of newly freed people immediately dropped their tools and left. Not because they were aimless. They left because they were searching.
Now I want you to imagine navigating post-war South with 0 money, 0 legal protection, and no identification. Trying to track down a mother, a spouse, or even a child that was sold away 10 years prior. People walked for hundreds of miles, tracking down rumors as to where their families might be. Juneteenth was in no way a clean, happy transition. It was an incredibly chaotic and dangerous fight for basic human reconnection. And if you for 1 second think friction between recognizing freedom and trying to suppress it ended in the 1800s, well, look at what's happening right now. We are still watching modern-day administrations show complete disrespect and total disregard for what this day represents.
While the Trump administration hasn't attempted to legally repeal Juneteenth, which they can't do anyway since it actually does take an act of Congress, what they have done is systematically taken steps to scale back and diminish federal recognition of the holiday. It's been incredibly disappointing to watch.
Just look at the actions. In December 2025, this administration actively removed both Juneteenth and Martin Luther King Jr. Day from the National Park Service's annual list of fee-free entry days. They literally looked at the calendar and decided the people shouldn't get free access to national parks on the days honoring Black freedom or civil rights.
And it doesn't stop at park fees. During the holiday in June, the administration refused to sign a commemorative proclamation. Instead of honoring the history, they used the day to publicly criticize the number of non-working days in the U.S., framing Juneteenth as nothing more than an ordinary working day. It's a deliberate attempt to minimize the holiday, water down its significance, and treat history like a major inconvenience.
But that brings us back to why we are here at this celebration today. And if you think this holiday exists because of a state or any administration for that matter, giving people a safe space to celebrate, well, that would be another myth. From the very beginning, under the Jim Crow laws, Black Americans were legally barred from public parks or public spaces for gathering.
In 1872, a group of Black ministers and business owners pooled $800 of their own money together, as a massive sum at the time, to purchase 10 acres of private land. They bought this land specifically so their community would have a safe and legal space to gather and remember.
And that is the real victory here. Juneteenth didn't survive because some government order finally made it to Texas. And it won't disappear because some modern-day administration tries to diminish it. It survived because of the real people's refusal to let their freedom become a quiet footnote in history. They built their own parks. They established their own traditions. They carved out their own spaces of joy and power entirely on their own terms.
That's the shift. The history is heavy, but the outcome is proof of an unbreakable blueprint. When the system wouldn't give them a seat at the table, they bought their own land and built the table themselves. That's exactly the reason we're celebrating today.
Let's get this clear. Juneteenth isn't a celebration about a government that magically fixed everything on June 19th, 1865.
It's a reminder of the massive historical frictions of a right written down on a piece of paper and that right actually being enforced on the ground. The real story here isn't that the order was read. The real story is the resilience of the people who survived the 900-day wait.